Welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're here with our picks and preview for week 2 of the NFL. It's come around quick, 7 months without football, and all of a sudden we're here in week 2 already. I'm joined as always by my co-hosts Joe and Byron. Gentlemen, pleasure to have you as always. How are you both doing?
Yeah, too bad. Can't believe it's week 2 already. It's flying around now. It's already another set of games. Just feels like just taking in what happened in week 1 and then suddenly it's working out what's happening after. Yeah, a bit more clearer what teams are actually going to be like, but I think it's going to be a few more until, we're 100% certain who's bad and who's good.
Who's bad and who's good? Well, I can probably tell you who's bad, certainly. There's some teams for sure that are definitely going to be bad. But yeah, a great week 1. We covered that on our week 1 review episode. If you haven't listened to that yet, go check it out. It's available on Spotify. Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. It's also available on our YouTube channel at GTW_GTC on YouTube. Go watch it before week 2 starts, preferably. And also listen to this. So we're going to get into swinging things. We'll talk about the games that are coming up. We've already previewed Thursday night football, and that will be over by the time you listen to this on Friday morning. So we previewed that. Congratulations, Minnesota. I don't know. We'll see. We've got the week 2 slate's an interesting one. We're going to look at 5 games like we did last week. And talk through. We'll have a look at our picks competition. So we've got our FourFold challenge. Joe had a great start last week on that, so we'll see if he can continue it. And then we'll have a look at the rest of our picks for the week, where Byron was leading the way. Shame you didn't back any of those, Byron.
Better this week, I think.
Yeah, good.
Just one 16-team parlay should smash
to go 16-0. Yeah. Cool.
Retire on Monday.
And congratulations, guys. We already covered it, but congratulations once again, Joe, on your 2 parlays you got in. Let's see if you can find some other big winners for our listeners this week. Let's just get straight into it then. Ravens Bengals is the first game we're going to have a look at. Ravens on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals, who put up a bit of a tepid effort last week against the Bengals. Baltimore Ravens are 3.5-point underdogs. Over under is 46.5. Let's start with Cincinnati. Are we expecting to see the Bengals bounce back, or are the struggles going to continue in this divisional game against the Ravens?
I think there is a concern. I think if the Ravens were at full fitness, this would be a real concern. The Ravens have got injury problems. I was really high on the Bengals, as you Paul, going into the season. And that whole line looked really, really poor. I mean, it's a bad weather game, but they just did not get going. And I think it feels really edgy, like it's a must-win game, but you don't want to be 0-2 in the division. I know they've done it before, and they've bounced back, and they've got to AFC title game and Super Bowls before, but you don't want to be in that position. It's really not convenient. So I think they probably will bounce back, but I don't think it's a gimme at all.
I think the last time these 2 teams met was in the playoffs last year. The Bengals only just squeezed past the Lamar Jackson-less Ravens.
Was it the fumble?
Yes.
The fumble at the line.
Fumble on the line, the return, 98 yards or whatever it was, 98 yards, 99 yards, fumble return for the touchdown that iced the game. I agree with you. Byron, you had the Bengals at 15-2, right? This could be the 2.
Could well be, yeah.
This could be the 2, and the Ravens weren't particularly impressive last week against the Texans. They made a bit of a meal of it in the end, didn't they? And whether that was just some complacency on who they were playing, Lamar Jackson wasn't particularly, great, was he? Throwing the ball, just fumble the ball, just running around with it. Yeah. So it is interesting. And I think it's going to take a bit of time for them wide receivers. With Zay Flowers had a good debut, didn't it? Joe, where are you leaning towards on this one?
So I think it's similar. Like with the Bengals, I think they're going to win, but I can see them going 0-2 as well. Just similar to like what they did last year, especially how they started. And yeah, it seems like with Burrows having most of his preseason taken away with injury, it looks like that did affect him on the first game, and also with how bad the weather was. Sometimes them games you've just got to be like, it was a bad weather game. let's ignore it. It seems like they always struggle against the Browns as well. Feels like the Browns have got something on them. So I think this is one of them games where I'm not really going to take much from week one for the Bengals. think, like you said, the Ravens didn't play the best also against Texans, but then they are playing the Texans. So is it one of them where they're just, playing at the opposition's level? But I am worried about all the injuries they're already picking up, especially some of the defensive, like Marcus Williams, they're going to be missing, and a few others. I think that's going to be, especially with Bengals wide receivers, they could expose them a bit more on the back end with a few of them injuries. And yeah, I'm expecting a bigger games from like Higgins and Boyd because they had a bit of a disaster last year. So I feel like they've got something to prove this week. But like you said, if they do lose this one and they go 0-2 in the division, it's not a good way to start. When I do think this one it's going to be one of the tightest divisions in the NFL.
Yeah, I kind of wish before I'd put my picks in earlier on, I'd have read this. And this is the list, right? The Ravens. So Titan Mark Andrews limited in practice today. Obviously, he missed week 1. Ronnie Staley, knee injury, did not practice. Tyler Linderbaum, ankle, did not practice. Marlon Humphrey, knee, did not practice. Marcus Williams, pec, did not practice. And obviously, I think he's going to be out for a very long time.
Don't think J.K. Dobbins will make it either.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins is done as well. So, yeah, that worries me. But I still like the 3.5. I still really like the plus 3.5. And I think it probably will be close. And again, Bengals could sneak it, win by a field goal. But I really do like the 3.5 on the Ravens. Have you guys got any bet? Have you got any bets lined up on Bengals Ravens outside of our pick competitions?
I have it on our favourite FourFold, our FourFold competition. If we're touching on that right now.
Well, let's save that. That's no spoilers. Cool, good stuff. I was really impressed with Zay Flowers. Might be worth a look at his line reception. I think he had 7 catches last week.
Yeah, a lot of scheme touches. They want to get him the ball. If Mark Andrews is back, I think he might struggle to get to that volume again, but it's not a ridiculous number either. It's not Puka Nacua going up for 14, 15.
Yes, everybody's favourite waiver wire target this week, and possibly Matthew Stafford's favourite new target. But yes, we'll say. I think they just made a bit of a conscious effort, didn't they, to feed Flowers the ball last week. So yeah, probably one to have a look at. I think he went for about 70 yards last week. And yeah, there's not got a lineup on it yet. They've only got Chase up on Bet365, which is our bookie of choice here at Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. And particularly the Canada version of them, because Joe preps all the odds online. So thanks, Bet365 Canada. We might have more of a chance of getting some deal with Bet365 Canada than elsewhere. Cool, good stuff. Let's move on then. That's Ravens Bengals, Chiefs Jags. Again, we're going to be very AFC focused this week, just because the way the games are, and just the AFC is obviously clearly miles better than the NFC. So we've got Chiefs Jags, another playoff rematch, divisional round playoff rematch. We've got a lot of playoff rematches in 2023, more than it feels than most years. It's just a bit of a quirk of the scheduling, I guess. Chiefs Jags, Chiefs are 3.5-point favourites going into Duval, into Jacksonville, over under 51. So a bit of a, I think, not necessarily a surprise, but certainly for the manner of how the Chiefs lost last week. Again, similar to the Bengals, they had a bit of a false start, the Chiefs, in week 1. It's not an easy task going to Jacksonville. What do we see the champs turn it around, or we potentially got the Bengals and the Chiefs both going 0-2 to start the season?
I've got the Chiefs winning this game, just because, again, they feel like the team they'll be probably not the most determined, but they'll be determined to actually come back and show everyone this is who we are. And especially getting Kelsey and Chris Jones back, I think that's going to be a huge win. And I think even some of the wide receivers, even though, like we mentioned, they're not, I don't think any of them's any number 1 or number 2, could be pushing for quite a few of them. But again, I think they've got something to prove as well. And I think they're just going to come out swinging. And I think Andy Reid's going to put some weird players and trying to get as much as possible. And I wasn't actually that impressed with Jacksonville last week as well, especially against the Colts. I think the Colts kept it close for a very long time, and it was only near the end when they got the late touchdown, when they were trying to just kill the game. That was that's what was the difference and what made the score look probably a lot better than actually what the game was. So I wasn't hugely impressed with them and thought, oh, wow, these are going to be, one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the AFC. Well, I do expect the Chiefs to be. So I think they bounce back and, turn it around.
Yeah, fair. Byron, thoughts? Chiefs going to come back and show us who they really are?
I'm not totally convinced, to be honest. I think the Jags will cover the 3.5. Going into Jacksonville, got across some of the country. Chris Jones will be back. Travis Kelce is still touch and go. And I don't know. I think Jacksonville, they certainly weren't great last week, but they got the job done. They looked good enough. Trevor Lawrence looked good. Calvin Ridley looked really good. And Kansas kind of looked a little like out of sorts. Maybe it will just all click with Chris Jones and Travis Kelce back, but I'm a little skeptical, I think. Wide receivers, obviously in Kansas City, had a real bad week 1. And again, they might bounce back week 2, but I'm just not convinced. I think it's going to be a tight game. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Jags sneak it with a point or 2, but I'll certainly take them on the plus 3.5.
Yeah, Jags covered the playoff game. I don't know if you remember everything. It was a bit of a late touchdown, but they did cover in the playoff game. Interesting one in this one, obviously. And we'll touch on this because it always tells an interesting tale. But yeah, you've got 61% of the money going on Kansas covering the 3.5, but only 48% of the bets. One that's really interesting for me is we've got 74% of the bets going on the under, but that only equates to 15% of the money, whereas we've got 26% of the bets going on the under, and 85. That translates to 85% of the money. 85% of the money on the under versus 15% of the money on the over, whereas the actual number of bets flips. Yeah. So that tells you the under. Yeah, it tells you the guys that maybe know what they're doing. Other people know what they're doing with the bigger stakes on the under. It's interesting, and I usually kind of have a look at these when you get these big lines on over unders, especially this early in the season. I know Jacksonville was an over last week, and the Chiefs were an under, but I like this at this early stage of the season when I see kind of a 50-point line. I really like the under. I'll have to go back and check the spreadsheets to see how effective it is, but yeah, I certainly do like it as a play. We'll come on to that a bit later.
Especially if you take it now and Kelce then misses out, that line's moving.
Yeah. I was thinking against Detroit as well. It didn't feel there was that many possessions. It was like something like, oh, it's the third quarter already. It felt like there wasn't much happening. It felt like there was a lot of running and a lot of, like not many possessions. So that's where you see the under, where there's not as big explosive players, especially from Kansas.
Yeah, and you're expecting the Chiefs to be better on, and they weren't bad on defense last week. In fact, they were good. They kept the lines to 14. You're getting Chris Jones back, and then maybe a slightly different, obviously a bit of a different offense to play it with. They've got more than one wide option, haven't they? The wide receiver option, haven't they? The Jaguars, whereas it was just kind of Amon-Ra St. Brown or nothing last week for the Lions. Josh Reynolds, of course, but predominantly Amon-Ra St. Brown. So close one. Any bets around Chiefs Jags apart from the spread and the over under that we've touched upon?
No, I just like I said, the Jags on the handicap.
I had a quick look, see what Kelce was like any time, and he's owed like -138. So I was like, maybe not, not worth going. Not getting much for that. And then with last week, he was a bit like, trying to pick who was actually going to get a touchdown last week didn't go too well with, especially the Chiefs. Yeah,
interesting. I think one's interesting because he had such a big season last year, and Ridley's obviously come in. Got Christian Kirk. I think we touched on it on Tuesday when we did I've lost the days already. Tuesday when we did the review episode. I think he had one catch for 9 yards. I think,
and he was exclusively in the slot.
Yeah, and I don't see him being completely phased out of the. So I think that was just a bit of an anomaly. So, and I suspect his reception line will be significantly lower as a result. I don't think Bet365 have got a line for it yet. I think it's one you might have to ask for. They're pretty poor until they get to kind of Sunday afternoon about putting this stuff up. So Bet365 Canada, get on that. But one to keep an eye on, if it is like a low line, you might get like 1.5 receptions or something, or 2.5 receptions, and that could be great value.
I think just pure narrative as well. I'd be interested to see the Kadarius Toney anytime touchdown, just because it feels like as soon as people get like whenever anyone goes heavy on something, you can normally kind of expect it to go back the other way of like, okay, now the pendulum's going to swing back to Kadarius Toney, and he's plus 250 anytime touchdown, but it's not something I might bet on, but I'll certainly be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely. We see that in sports, don't we? That that narrative. And there's one that I'd like to come on, and it's not one of the games we'll preview, but there's a bet that I'm definitely hammering similar around that, but something more positive for something a lot more positive, which we'll talk about. 49ers Rams, Joe. 49ers were pretty impressive in week 1. Went and crushed the Steelers in Pittsburgh. 49ers 8-point favorites. So 49ers -8 against the LA Rams. I think it's just moved. We capped it off at 8, but I think it might just move to 7.5. Just having a quick look at it now. We've got it on at 8 for the benefit of our picks, and over under 44.5. I think the division home underdogs thing played out a little bit. I think it may have gone 2-2 on week 1. There's a lot of them this week. Are we tempted by the Rams at plus 7.5 or plus 8, depending if it goes back, or are San Francisco just going to do what they did to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I keep thinking like, yeah, it's a good bet to go for the Rams, but then I'm trying to go opposite to what went last week, where I thought the 49ers weren't going to be as good, and then they were actually how good they were. If they can do that again, I think they'll blow away the Rams, just because also the history, like Shanahan's got something over McVay until it actually properly matters in the NFC championship. But like most of the time, he does actually come on top, and it feels like the 49ers style is the weakness for the Rams. So I do expect the 49ers to win. 7.5 is a lot. I think obviously they've got it right. That one's like really tricky, because I can see it being a close game as well, whether all the Rams score a few meaningless points in there, just because how good Stafford looked. And I'm still not 100% convinced on the 49ers cornerbacks that they can be thrown on and they can get points, but just how good the 49ers were scoring and how they started, I'm leaning towards 49ers to win and to cover.
Yeah. I was shocked at the line, because we got the line at the Steelers at 2.5 last week. I'm shocked at this because the Rams look good against the Seahawks. Seattle weren't great, but the Rams did look good. Stafford looked fine. Stafford looks what we expect to see from Matthew Stafford. The two receivers, and I know obviously we've got the favourite waiver wire target, but also Atwell as well had again 119 yards as well. I think on 5 or so catches, maybe more. I've got the stats in front of me, but yeah, I don't know. I really like the Rams to cover this. I don't expect them to win the game at all, but I really like them to keep it close. You've got your solid players back. You've got Aaron Donald, still possibly the best defensive player in the NFL. You've got Matthew Stafford back, looking in rhythm. I've got a funny feeling the Rams will keep it close. And I don't know, are the 49ers going to be that good? They were good. They were almost perfect last week. Yeah, I really like the Rams to cover this.
I picked the Rams to cover it. I don't have a huge amount of confidence. I think the 49ers are much the better team. But 7.5 is a lot, and obviously 8 when we done it. If the Rams play like they did last week, I think it's a very good bet that they cover. 49ers play like they did last week, though. It's very easy to argue that they're going to cover it pretty easily. So, like I say, I've took the Rams just because 7.5, 8 points is a lot. And this early in the season with a team that looked good already, I think it's a pretty easy bet, especially going into LA as well. I know it's not a big road trip, but it's their home stadium.
Yeah. It is too. Yeah, back-to-back road trips is never fun. Love, and again, the prop ones are a bit of fun for me. Aaron Donald to get a sack plus 130. Really like we saw what TJ Watt was able to do last week. Really, really like Donald plus 130 to get a sack.
And ideally a hot mic to catch Matthew Stafford running away from Aaron Donald, like we got Gino last week. So
I mean, I'm sure Matthew Stafford does. I'm sure it'd be more Brock Purdy who'd be the one wanting to run away.
Yeah, that'd be one hell of a play by Aaron Donald. Just runs off the bench.
Start playing offense as well. It's fine.
Yeah,
running back, just at fullback.
He would clear space.
Yeah.
If you had a team of 11 Aaron Donalds, that would be a great football team. Good stuff.
We thought Atlanta ran a lot.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to talk about Atlanta too much. Maybe that's a bit of disrespect. Hopefully, you've all got off of Drake London and Kyle Pitts if you have them in your fantasy team.
I have one Dynasty League with both.
Oh, dear. And that's your Atlanta Falcons talk for this week. Any other anything else apart from we see me and Byron spilling into Rams covering the spread. Any other bets on top of that for this one?
Yeah, I've got I think like you said, some of the props are not up yet. But the ones I might look into is the receiving yards. I think Kittle it feels like he always has a big game against the Rams, and his receiving is 38.5. So I think he might cover that. And also per day rushing yards is 7.5. And it feels like every game he plays, he gets like a 10 yards. Yeah, he gets a 10-yard scamper, especially with like the Rams front as well. Especially if like Donald destroys in the middle, he's going to be running for his life. So I think that could be a nice little two-win. Maybe have a look at, like Christian McCaffrey's 28.5 receiving as well. So there's a few there where I'm like, okay.
CMC did look pretty good. I think I dare see before is the line for his rush yards 64
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Again, I think they're just going to keep feeding the ball. I think it'll be a little bit more difficult to run on the Rams, but obviously we'll see. But yeah, I like that. And I always get charmed with CMC with just bundling it, rushing and receiving.
Mm-hmm.
His line isn't up yet, but I always just get charmed by that just because of how much he touches the ball.
An alternate bookie, not Bet365, did have his rushing and receiving up, and I liked that plus 50 or more yards was minus 2,500. I mean, if I just want to get my ratio up, I might bet it, but I don't think that's really Look, you basically just, will he get injured?
It depends how deep in the hole you get, Byron. If week 2 goes by, and you've not got a winner.
Yeah.
CMC to have over 0.5 rushing attempts.
I mean, the over 0.5 was a curse on Monday night, though, for all the US big promos over here. It was Aaron Rodgers over 0.5 yards. They all voided them or paid out as a winner. Because those things are just publicity bets. It's like a maximum of $10 or what have you. But
I was going to say, did you see that bar in Green Bay as well? Did you see that on the news?
Absolutely incredible.
Constant,
yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
You'd be devastated, though, because you would just rack up the bill if you thought,
especially at half-time, 10 points up.
You'll be getting the shots in and whatnot.
I just wanted them to play the Curb the Enthusiasm music over the end of the news broadcast. It was just perfect. And there was one guy, I don't know if you've seen it, in a Sauce Gardner jersey, just like dancing through the bar.
Yeah.
It's like, brave man. I drank in Wisconsin. I'm not sure I'd be that keen.
Stuff. And my heart goes out to anybody who got a bad beat on Monday from a fantasy football perspective. If you were sat there needing, points from Aaron Rodgers, anything less than what, if you needed less than kind of 15, you were going, you're watching that game while going to bed if you're in the UK going, I've won that game.
You needed less than 3, Josh Allen.
Exactly. Well, yeah, there you go. That's what happened to me. I did like 10 points or something like that. And
me and Joe are the bottom 2 scorers in our league.
Nice.
I am 1-0.
There's one particular bad beat that I've seen. I shared it in our fantasy football group chat, but the guy needed 0.07. I don't know what's that one completion for.
5 yards.
What, 5 yards? And Rodgers obviously didn't have any completions at all and lost by 0.06. Rancid way to lose. I'd quit. I won't play. Fuck that. Cool, good stuff. That was our Niners Rams talk. We're already 4 games in. We're flying through this week, gents. Sunday. Let's go to Sunday Night Football. I really like this game. Dolphins Patriots. Patriots showed me something after the disastrous start that they had. They showed me something to kind of hang around in that game that makes me think the Patriots could be a little bit frisky this season after I thought they were just going to be trash. Really, really liking this game. Sunday Night Football, week 2, a big AFC East game. The AFC East now has been kind of turned on its head, obviously after what happened with Aaron Rodgers. We still keep talking about him. Last time we mentioned him, I promise. Patriots, I've got a 3-point start. +3 Patriots at home. Again, I think I'm leaning Patriots on this one. Over-under is 46.5. What do we reckon to Dolphins Patriots?
I think the biggest issue might be, I think Dolphins are a much better team, truthfully. I know the Patriots put up well against Philadelphia, but ultimately a losing effort and still didn't cover the spread. But it's hard not to be charmed by Miami from last week. They were so good. And I'm sure Bill Belichick will have a plan to try and slow Tyreek Hill down. But you've also got to slow down Jalen Waddle. It's really hard when you've got two guys who are super speedsters. And Tua is very accurate. He gets the ball out and he gets it on target. New England's offense was not too bad last week, but I think they're going to struggle over the season to get going. They've not really got any speed on offense. Anything that I think comes through speed is going to have to go through Ramondre. And he wasn't as involved as I was hoping he would be last week. It wasn't too bad, but Zeke was getting a lot of routes, which, I don't know, bring him in at the 4-yard line. I don't think we need to be using Zeke Elliott throughout the field at this point in his life. My only concern really with picking Miami is there is a hurricane due in New England, I think, tomorrow. The weather forecast for Sunday is fine right now, but if that changes and it's a terrible weather game, Tua slipping and sliding or any of the receivers, losing footing, I think there's potentially an issue there, and I think that's where, the under and the Dolphins might be a good bet. I still think Miami would take it, but I think it could be a close one if the weather gets bad. If it's a nice clear night, though, I think Miami might just sling the ball around and, New England will be trying to play catch-up.
Yeah, I was going to say that was my main concern as well, because they've gone from LA, sunshine, perfect footballing conditions, and then possibly back to New England where the weather's not great. And with that kind of offense, can it work in that kind of weather, just where they're slinging it around, especially with how good the Patriots defense is? I think their defense has been slept on a bit. They're always good at every year. They know what they're doing. And like you said, Bill Belichick knows they're seeing the Dolphins twice a year, so he's probably got a game plan ready for them. So I'm curious to see how, if it is bad weather, how good the Dolphins running game is, because I'm still not convinced with their running backs.
Most is banged up as well.
Yeah, I was surprised because he always gets banged up. So I was surprised they didn't go in for someone, they didn't go for like a Dalvin Cook or, I know they tried to get Taylor, but they weren't going to give, what the Colts wanted for that. So I'm surprised they haven't got someone else in or gone for someone to actually show that up, because they always get injuries. And and like you said, it is a big game for the AFC East as well, because if Dolphins win this, that's the 2-0 against Chargers and someone in the division. They've got a leg up on everyone straight away, and it's a perfect start.
Yeah, interesting one with this one. Public betting, 79% of the money is on the under 46.5. One to keep an eye on if you can beat keep an eye on that weather forecast, because if it is, we saw some particularly low scoring games last week in some horrible weather. Where unders hit Bengals, Browns, and Cowboys, Giants in a monsoon, which was particularly one-sided. That also hit the under as well. So one to keep an eye on. If you can get that 46.5, and we know there's going to be the weather, then you've done well. So I've just got a real feeling that Patriots are going to cover this game and run Miami close. I think I liked what I saw from the Patriots of hanging on. They shot themselves in the foot a couple of times to get into that hole, stuck in it, very one play at a time, just get yourself back in it. Philadelphia, I think, switched off a bit, which helped, but Patriots came alive on offense. And I really, really do think that they're going to run the Dolphins close. So again, with it being 3, I've got a funny feeling I'm going to end up on a push here, but I really like the Patriots. Again, a close game, I'm win by 3 in a push, which is always the risk when you take full points. Love it. I think it's going to be a really good Sunday night football game as well. After a bit of a damp squib of one last week with Giants.
Great last week.
I mean, it was great. I'm just trying to
game of the year.
I obviously loved it, but obviously it was game over after about 12 minutes. So, you need one for the people, Byron.
People get plenty.
Cool, good stuff. Anything else on Dolphins Patriots?
No, I think it's interesting to remember that I know it was Teddy Bridgewater, Skylar Thompson duo last year, but New England did beat Miami last year in New England as well. So, Mike McDaniel, I think his first coaching game was against Bill Belichick. I think that was his first game last season. It was certainly early. I can't remember he had such a great hot start, and one of them was against Belichick. But Belichick went in and, they've went into New England and he's beaten him before. Much I love Mike McDaniel. It's not like he's unflappable. So, yeah, I think the line could be a close one.
Good stuff. What's the line for Tyreek Hill receiving yards this week?
It's 84.5.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if the weather changes. Chuck some
more,
money on under.
I know he's great, but I kind of think, again, a little bit, not squeaky wheel because he hasn't made a fuss about it, but I think I'd maybe take Jalen Waddle, who's over 63.5, which I probably prefer. I mean, that's realistically for Jalen Waddle, that might be one play.
Very
maybe
true.
two. Like, that is, he can easily go the distance on one catch.
Yeah. I like Hunter Henry as well, 33.5.
Yeah. He had a real good week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I think one that was just on my list again, the prop bets are a bit fun for me. Just doubling up over half an interception for Mac and Tua.
I was going to say that one as well. I can see Tua throwing 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if the weather's bad, though, Mac Jones might not throw a ball.
There is also that.
Was that game against Buffalo a few years ago? I think it was Buffalo.
Yeah, it wasn't last season. It was the season before, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was another bad beat one where I think I needed Mac Jones to get like 4 points. And
Yeah, because that was the year where they got absolutely pumped in Buffalo in the playoffs, wasn't it? So, yeah, and they beat them. It was a Monday night game in obviously absolutely horrendous conditions. Yeah. Great game.
Not as bad as Giants Cowboys.
Cool, good stuff. So we've rifled through this week. Good stuff. We're going to get in under an hour here, gents. I'm sure our listeners will be appreciative of that. Final game that we're going to look at in great detail is, someone want to remind me, it's a Monday night game. We've got double Monday night football. Why do they do it where the games overlap?
Yep.
I hate
they're doing
this.
it next. Yeah, they're doing it next week as well, aren't they?
I believe so.
Week. Yeah.
ESPN, don't do this.
Just make it early.
Just have one early game.
Just make it early.
Have one late game. It's stupid. And then you can't hide from it as well, because when they do it, they put the score of the other game on the screen in the corner. So I can't watch one and not find out what's going on.
Get 2 screens, Paul. 2 screens.
No, 2023.
I'm not staying up till 4 o'clock on a Tuesday morning in the UK.
You just have to put some tape on your TV at the bottom where he shows the score.
Ridiculous. Nobody likes this.
Anyway.
Right. Now I've got that out of my system. And to be fair, one of them's a pretty trash game anyway, so I won't be that fussed about it. So, yes, we're still in the AFC. Are we back in? Still in? Yeah, still in the AFC. We've not really talked NFC much, have we? Browns Steelers. Got to it in the end. Steelers 2.5-point underdogs at home against the Cleveland Browns. Over under 38.5. Steelers were terrible last week. The Browns got a big win over the Bengals. What we're seeing happening here.
It's another one where it's a home underdog in division that I kind of like the Steelers to cover it. I think could be a 1-pointer. I think Cleveland obviously looked really good in the rain last week. Pittsburgh looked really bad against San Fran, but I don't think that's really indicative of where they are. But you really, really need to see more from Matt Canada starting now, really, because he's on the hot seat. I think I read a stat this week, and how many games it is he's been in charge there, or in charge of offense there. They haven't had a over 400-yard offense yet. I mean, that isn't like this. It's not the 50s. That isn't a huge bar to hit. And he took a first-round quarterback last year. They have good weapons on offense. It's not. Well, they have a first-round running back as well. It's not like they're talent deficient. He's just so limited. It just feels like they're always restrictive. I do think it's going to be a very heavy ground and pound type game from Pittsburgh, especially no Deontay Johnson. He'll be flinging it up to George Pickens, hope he can make magical catches. But I just think it's going to be one of them games where they just try and keep it close, and hope TJ Watt can drag the offense on his back.
Yeah, because of that, I love the Pittsburgh team line for rushing yards. It's 115.5 yards. I know the Browns aren't easy to run on, but as a team total, I very much like that. And that's probably one as well for the Browns to just maybe just hit that, whatever that number is, every week. It's 128.5 for the Browns. Total rushing yards as a team. It's minus 115. The Steelers one is also minus 115, which indicates a little bit low, but yeah, I just love both those bets. Double them up. I think I'll go them as two singles, but yeah, just love that.
Especially with Cam Hayward out as well. I think it was just put on 8 weeks. That's just getting groin surgery. That's a big player on their defensive line. And I was surprised how bad, Steelers' offensive line was last week as well. So this one where I was flipping a lot, and I just I thought this was like one of the toughest ones this week, because in my head I keep thinking I think the Browns are going to win, but I can also see it being one of them where the Steelers sneak one out, and then it's just the parity. It's what everyone's 1-1 and move forward. But this is a big game, just because if the Browns win this, to go 2-0 in the division, you beat Bengals and Steelers, you beat the Steelers at their ground. Yeah, but huge confidence. I'm curious, I hope it's good weather this time, so we can actually see what Cleveland's like on offense, because, again, similar to the Cincinnati, you can't really take much away from that game. Didn't see Watson have the greatest game, but he just needed to do what he needed to do. So I am curious if it is good weather and it's more we've got to throw in, we've actually got to put some yards up to see how he'll cope with that and see what they're like. But I still think Cleveland's defense did look legit, so I'm a bit worried about the Steelers' offense again, even though I did go Steelers to cover it, just because not really a logical pick, just that I think everyone's just going to go 1-1 in that division, and it's going to be like, makes sense.
Yeah, I know and again the stats on home underdogs in division games. It's especially early in the season. Yeah. And I think I've gone for a lot of that in our picks. I think there's 4 this week. I could be wrong, there might be more, but I'm pretty sure there was 4 on the docket for this week. Cool, good stuff. Any additional bets on Browns Steelers?
I have gone for the Steelers to cover, but I liked, just in case the Steelers offense doesn't get going, the Browns are plus 700 to win the first half scoreless. Probably not going to happen, but I think it's a real good price if Cleveland's defense comes out looking like it did last week and Pittsburgh offense comes out looking like it did last week. I think plus 700 is a nice price on that.
Nice, good.
And not a bet I'll be making, but I just found it funny that in the longest rush market, Najee Harris, his longest rush is only 2 yards longer than Deshaun Watson's. Najee Harris's longest run is plus 13.5 yards, which you would really hope he can hit, but that offense has really looked sloppy. So
yeah,
I certainly won't be betting it, but I found it kind of indicative of where he's at.
Yeah. Cool, good stuff. That wraps up Monday Night Football. So that's on at the same time as Panthers Saints. Let's have a roll into then our FourFold competition. So we've agreed the forfeit, and it's a nice one. So over the course of the 18 weeks, obviously it's FourFold challenge. So I think that totals, if my maths is right, 72 bets over the course of the regular season, or 72 picks over the course of the regular season. Whoever finishes last will be making a donation to charity for the amount of, or potentially multiple, we can talk about that, but for an amount of, that is the difference between the third place and first place. So if whoever finishes bottom is 25 games back, or first place, they'll have to donate £25. So however many dollars or Canadian dollars that is for you to.
Could be pounds.
Yeah, you could donate in pounds, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely,
you could.
No.
It doesn't have to be dollars or Canadian dollars. It could be someone that side of the pond.
Well,
as unlikely as you think that might be.
It's not going to be. Or we'll just make all the guests chip in.
Well, I was going to say, the guests going to have to split it 18 ways.
Possibly, yeah. Just each one of them, if they finish last, has to donate. Yeah. So it's a lot of minute, and then whoever wins will get to pick the charity that money gets donated to. Thought we'd do something nice. Good stuff. NFL Forfeit Challenge. So let's have a run through it. We've got a guest this week. We haven't got their picks in yet because I will be speaking to them after the time we record this, and after this in the recording when it gets edited in. So we've got Scott Cobe. Scott was on our State of the AFC East way back in May or June, whenever we did it. Scott is a big Boston sports guy, big Patriots fan, so we'll have a chat around Dolphins Patriots as well. And yes, we'll get Scott's pick. Bobby G went 1-3 after bragging he was going to go 4-0. But at least his one was his Browns that covered. Let's just bring our picks up for the week.
Patriots underdog in already, right?
Sorry?
We'll pencil the Patriots in his favourite underdog of the week for him.
I mean, yeah, probably. I'm just going to go Patriots as his underdog. So I've gone the Niners because I didn't get to change it. So I put my picks. I've been away for work and put them in, finalised them on the train, and then obviously I taught myself into. I love the Rams to cover the +8 as it is.
Look at him here. He just wants to win one way or the other.
Yeah. Look, I suppose
bring on the push.
It's been a rough week. Yeah, and there could be the push as well, which is interesting. I'm usually trying to avoid the whole point spreads because the fucking push, but yeah. So yeah, I've gone favourites the 49ers. We've already talked about that game. I've gone the underdog, the Ravens, which I do love as well. We've talked about that game. Let's go back the other way. Sorry. My favourite we've talked about. Byron's favourite we've also talked about. Byron's is the Dolphins -3 against the Patriots. Joe, your favourite is the Chiefs. Chiefs -3.5 against the Jags. We've already talked about that game. Your underdog, Joe, we'll stick with you, is the Seattle Seahawks +5 against the Lions. Yeah, talk to us about that one.
I just think it's like 5 points. I know Seattle had a terrible game last week and the Lions beat the Chiefs, but I think I talked about I didn't think that the Lions were the cream of the crop in the NFC. I didn't think it was like, oh, wow, this team's going to steamroll everyone. And I don't know if just the Seahawks, they went into that game thinking, oh, we're going to destroy this. The Rams. The Rams are coming in and they one of the favourites to get the first overall pick. I wonder if they just had that complacency. So I just thought 5 points is a lot. And I think Seattle's actually going to be... I don't see much difference between Seattle and Lions in terms of quality between the squads. So I just thought, yeah. The Lions might still win, but I just thought 5 points. That was a big spread, to be honest.
It's already moved. It's already down to 4.5.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
you've got the 5. So this was my favourite prop of the week. So how much we've heard about this run that Jared Goff's on. Passing attempts without an interception. He's getting close to the record.
Was it 45 off, was it?
Sorry?
Is it more than 45, or have I misread that?
I think it's something like that. He'll probably do it in the next couple of games.
Yeah.
But I love over 0.5 interceptions for Jared Goff. And I think it's pretty good value. It's +145 as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there was some kind of enhanced price for him being on such a good streak.
Yeah, +145 I quite like.
It'd be a very weird quarterback to have that record.
Yes, yeah. It's -175 to under 0.5. So yeah, so I love that.
Yeah, it's a nice number.
He's gonna throw a pick. Byron, you're on the other end of Chiefs Jags. Your underdog is the Jaguars +3.5. Mine is the Ravens. We've talked about those games. The over. We've not talked about Colts Texans. I really like that over 39. I expect Stroud and the Texans to get a little bit more success against the Colts, and Andy Richardson looks okay. So I think, 39 is a real low number. So it's like the opposite of the big numbers for the unders. It's such a low number, 39. I think the Colts scored 21 last week. Texans scored 15, 16 again. I think we can get to over 39. It's going to be a rancid game, but an interesting one in that AFC South. Byron, you've gone over 46. Bengals Ravens. Joe, talk to us about the Packers. Packers at Falcons over 40.5. That's a real low number as well.
Yeah, I think I struggled with the overs and under this week. So yeah, a lot of them was like, are they really going to? And this one I can see being a lot of running, but yeah, I don't think both teams are not amazing on defense. So I thought 40.5. I thought that's pretty low to get over, and I can see it being 23, 21, that kind of game. So yeah, why not?
Yeah, and the Packers put up 38 on the Bears last week.
Yeah, and the Falcons got a few as well.
Yeah. So interesting one. That might be a real fun game in the early slate to watch. It'll be a very fun game.
I'm sure Arthur Smith will suck the life out of it. 30 carries for Tyler Algier. Desmond Ridder on catches.
Red zone running back, goal line running back, Tyler Algier, not Bijan Robinson. Cool. Under for you, Joe, Dolphins Patriots. I guess we touched a little bit on that. Yeah, that could end up being a weather game, and you've got a freebie there. If that line moves massively, you should have to take it.
Nah, what are you on about? He's done it on Wednesday. You know what I mean?
Byron, we should set something. If it ends up being a fucking hurricane in Foxborough,
I put money on this, Paul. You know, that's what it was right now.
Like the market's already priced in that there might be a hurricane.
If that ends up dropping, there should be a line that moves by so much.
Do you know what you could have done? You could have backed it.
Yeah.
I still like it. Well, it's 46.5.
Nothing stopping you from picking it.
It'll be a next week claiming that he put money on Dolphins Patriots after a hurricane. He's like, oh well, I'm 6-2, but he'll not mention that the line moved at all when that happened.
Byron, Bears Buccaneers for you. We've not touched on that game.
Yeah, not much to touch on really. Two very putrid offenses. Bears need a win. It is panic in Chicagoland, let me tell you. Obviously there's no one happy, but it is full on. Like, if they had a San Francisco bridge here, I think they'd be throwing themselves off it. It is dismal. I don't know if things are really going to get much better. Seeing some of the tape breakdowns of, especially Chase Claypool, we touched on the other day, but just the play calling, it's so uncreative. There's receivers running into each other. It's week one. They're not trying to bodge together a team on Thursday night. We're preparing all summer. And the Bucs, it is 2-0 teams. I just think, under 41 all day. I think I might struggle to pick either of them getting to 20 points.
Cool, good stuff.
Yeah, there's a few good games this week I found. There's a couple that not really interested in that.
Yeah, this is one of them,
yeah.
Get that up on one screen. And then Chiefs, we've talked about Chiefs, Jags. I'm just following the money on this one. I think I said, what did I say before? It was 80% of the money is on the under in the Chiefs, Jags. It's just one again. I think it hit the under last in the playoff game because it was really, really high over. Sorry?
I think it was 27-20 and it was a 53, maybe.
Yeah, it was a really high over.
But didn't Mahomes get injured? Was that game?
That was the game Mahomes got injured, yes.
Well, he might get injured again.
But he got injured late on in the game, didn't he?
I felt like the middle, but
he played. He didn't come out, did he? Did Chad? No.
Chad Henne?
Chase Daniels.
The same guy, in my opinion. I forget which one's which.
Oh no, Chad Henne. Yeah, it was Chad Henne. Yeah.
That Chiefs backup who got paid a lot of money for doing very little.
Yeah, but I think he didn't. I don't think he played. He came in that game. He came in the AFC Championship game, didn't he? But he didn't come in the Jaguars game. I don't think. I think Mahomes played through it, didn't he? So, yeah.
Henne threw 7 passes for 23 yards and a touchdown. So he contributed.
Fair enough.
Give him his props.
That might have been one drive where Mahomes was off the field, though.
That's what I was going to say when he got,
Because Mahomes did throw a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Henny just came in the second quarter, so it wasn't out too long.
Cool. But yeah, I like the under in that one. It's just a big number this early in the season. So I'm 2-2, Byron's 2-2, and Joe's 4-0. Joe, are you putting that in as a parlay again this week?
Yeah, I've already put it in. So annoyingly, the Seahawks was 4.5, so it doesn't really matter really with the Spurs who would be pushing anyway. So I think it was similar. I think I put $10 on. I think I went like 150.
So again, plus 1,400.
Yeah.
Did Bet365 say anything about if there's a hurricane, your price is getting dropped?
No, so
I make the goddamn rules around here.
So when that money comes to my account, there'll be a little asterisk there next to it.
It's like the Lions winning Kansas City. There's an asterisk next to it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Look, if there's an asterisk is good enough for Tarico, it's good enough for me. Right, Joe, what we should probably do, a good idea, and probably shouldn't do this while we're recording, but maybe we should price up the FourFolds and get it added on just as a good little visual. I'm not editing this out. So let's go on to our picks competition. We'll have obviously Scott Cobe's picks added in. You'll see them in a wonderful Instagram post that Joe will add, and also at the end you'll hear them at the end of this at the end of the show. Let's have a look at our overall picks. Much better story for Byron. 10-6 was it, Byron? You went last week.
I believe so. I'm hoping the sheet will update so I can actually see, but I think it was 10-6.
Yeah. Joe went
9-7.
9-7.
And you went 7-9.
Yeah, I'm reading it the wrong way, and I went 7-9. Yeah, I was like, I went 7, 10, and 9. No, so I went 7-9. Byron went 10-6. Joe went 9-7. Right, let's rifle through this. Finish off. So we're all on the Eagles for Thursday Night Football. That line just keeps coming down. Is it 6 now?
It was 6 yesterday.
Yeah, because it started at 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if people are just spooked like how they played against the Patriots. I wonder if that's just
I'm pleased it's going down though, because I haven't bet yet, and I really think the Eagles are covering that. I think they're covering 7.5. I must be honest. I think this could be This is great because it's not going to go out till after the game, but I could look very dumb very early. But I think this could be a good old Eagles butt whipping. Truthfully,
I would really like it to just go down to 5.5. That'd be great. I get so
the push
anxious about this. Yeah, the push.
I do have one bet to highlight for there that I put on. Double tight end touchdown basically. Hawkinson and Goddard is plus 800. Goddard didn't get jack shit on.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to feature him pretty early. You're not running on the Eagles, so I think it's going to be a lot of short game for Hawkinson. There's a good chance he ends up in the end zone. I think plus 800 is a real nice bet for the double there.
Cool, good stuff. So we're all on the Eagles -6. We touched on Packers Falcons with Joe having it in his FourFold challenge. I've gone Green Bay -1. Byron, Joe, you're both on the Falcons +1.
Yeah, I just think the Falcons are going to win. Yeah.
Home underdog +1. I think the Falcons will run it out. Christian Watson maybe missing the game. Aaron Jones maybe missing the game. Jordan Love might get a little spooked with that Falcons defense from last week. Not one I have huge faith in. I just give me the home underdog.
Yeah. And the Packers were playing the Bears, so I'm not really taking that from the first week, like how good they are. So
very good point.
Fair. Okay.
Regret your decisions already, Paul.
No, Packers -1. I think the Packers are going to absolutely beat the shit out of the Falcons. The Falcons did not. I don't think they were great last week against the Panthers. Everything, going against a new head coach, against a rookie quarterback in week 1. Yes, they won 24-10, but they made an absolute meal of it. Zero faith in the Falcons. Indianapolis Colts at Houston Texans. India 1-point favorites. Me and Joe are both on the Colts. Byron, you're on the Texans. We've talked about this a little bit, but Joe, why have you leaned to the Colts?
I just think they're the better team. I think watching that, I don't think they're that much better. I just was disappointed with how Houston's offensive line was, and just the overall game. I think they had a chance to beat Baltimore because I think Baltimore played poor and just how they got blown out. So I think the Colts are gonna win this game.
Cool. Both me and Joe are on. Is that supposed to be Seattle +5 against Detroit? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So,
that's a level home underdog.
Me and Joe are on, and Byron, you're on the Lions +5. How is this? Is the -5? Sorry, yeah, it's the bloody sheet. Lions -5. Has the hype train gone too far on the Lions?
I mean, maybe they did just go into Kansas City and beat the Super Bowl champions, like
with an asterisk.
All right, Mike. And if those Seattle linemen are missing again, I said the other day, Gino's going to have to get in his cardio because Aiden Hutchinson's going to be chasing him all game. I was just thinking, and Ben Johnson, OC, is, he's a difference maker. They might not have difference making players outside of, Amon-Ra, but I think Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get a bigger workload this week. I'm really worried about Seattle. I was really high on them coming into the season, but they were so bad against the Rams last week. I know the Rams played well, but yeah, I'm just really concerned, especially if that whole line is patched up again. I think that's going to be a real area of concern until it isn't.
Cool. We're all on the Chargers, -3 at Tennessee. Tennessee were bad, weren't they, against the State? So there's nothing we really need to discuss there. Chargers did manage to charge themselves a little bit, but they did look good from an offensive perspective. Raiders getting 9.5 at Buffalo. This is a real get-right game for Buffalo. And you'd think they'd just go out there and absolutely hammer the Raiders. But I think 9.5 is too many points.
Yeah, sold at 8.5 now. So they're coming down. Yeah, I'm similar to you. 9.5 feels a lot. I think Buffalo's going to win, but I just think Jimmy G keeps charming me where he just always wins and he always keeps it close somehow. So I think it's going to be. I think Buffalo will win, but yeah, we'd be 9.5. I think that's a lot of points.
Yeah, 57% of the money's on the Raiders at 8.5. Obviously, that's come down, which I find really interesting. I think it's just that bit where it's just too much. It's just too much.
We said earlier, like the Bengals really need to win this week. If the Bills don't win this week, they really need to win. It's a bit narrative based why I'm picking them here, but I just think Buffalo, the fan base has to be up for this game. It's got to be loud. It's got to be deafening. It's a cross-country trip for Las Vegas. I think the Raiders are one of the worst teams in the NFL. 10 points is a lot. Even 8.5 is a lot. I think 8.5, I'm betting that, though, to be honest. 9.5, it was like, I'll pick them, but I don't think I'd bet 8.5. I think I will. And if it's a tight game or if the Raiders somehow sneak it, a lot of panic in Buffalo.
Yeah, 0-2. And it'd be interesting. We could be sat here with the Chiefs, Bengals, and Bills. That's my train of thought. Bills all sat at 0-2. Cool. Kansas City -3.5. We've talked about that one already, but me and Joe are on the Chiefs. Byron, you've got the Jags covering. Ravens, Cincinnati. We've discussed Ravens, Bengals. I'm on the Ravens +3.5. You two guys are on the Bengals. We're all on the Chicago Bears to cover the 2.5 against Tampa.
I'm regretting that slightly, but
I didn't like seeing all three of us had it. That feels like too much confidence.
I know, yeah. I can just see Tampa winning, but I think it might be like you said. It might just be Tampa might win it, but just win it by 1 point or something like they did last year.
Something else worth tracking again as well. I mean, we've got the things tracked as well. Where we're all unanimous on it. What the record is.
Well, I know we lost Washington last week.
Yeah, we'll be horrendous on those. Yeah. Where we're all like, unanimous. Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah. I see there's another one coming up as well, and that is
yeah. We've talked about Niners, Rams. Me and Joe are on the Niners, even though I love the Rams to cover it. I think it's changing time. The Wi-Fi on the train was absolutely horrendous, by the way. Cardinals, not talked about this game at all. New York Giants, 5.5-point favorites on the road against Cardinals. Cardinals surprised me, kept it close last week against the Commanders. Part of, I think the Cardinals did an okay job. The Commanders were pretty poor. The Giants were so bad. I think the Cardinals can win this game.
Well, it's -4 now. It's obviously
-4.
Mm-hmm. It's obviously people's like, I did this last night as well, so it's not even been 24 hours and people must have piling money in.
I absolutely love the Cardinals to win this game.
I love the Giants at +4, -4. I love the Giants at +4, Jesus. But
yeah, you two are on the Giants at -5.5. And I know there's a bit around everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and there was a bit of balls didn't bounce around. I get that, but the Giants were just bad. The Giants are a bad football team.
Yeah, I mean, I've been low on them all preseason, but like Cardinals are a really bad football team.
Cardinals are a really bad football team.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been like, I don't think Giants are gonna do much this year, but I just think Cardinals could go 0-17, 1-16, so they're gonna lose these. And that's again, if the Giants lose this, that's gonna be,
incredible.
Because you've lost, 40 zip, and then you've lost probably the worst team in the NFL. What most people say the preseason, so that's disaster right there.
If you pay Daniel Jones $40 million and loses to Josh Dobbs week 2,
I love it. I think they're gonna get beat. I think Cardinals gonna beat. Jets at Cowboys. It's a shame, as much as Rodgers has owned the Cowboys over the years, I'd have loved to have seen this matchup. We've not got it. We've got Zach Wilson. The Jets +9.5. I think the defense will cover it. I'm just still not sure about Dallas on offense just because we didn't really see much of it last week.
Brandon Cooks got an MCL injury today that's noted as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, not positive.
Not positive at all.
My one thing is the Jets defense might keep it close, but the Jets offense might try and not keep it close.
And I think, look, we'll see. I think there's a bit around what you've seen what Dallas did to the Giants last week. I think we're going to see a lot of Breece Hall. We're going to see a lot of Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
And Breece Hall looked good as well.
Yeah.
10 carries. But, yes, I think you're going to get that. And another one for me for a bet, the Jets team total on the rushing. I had written down, but I've lost my sheet. Again, it's not something preposterous, and they're going to obviously run the ball and take it out of Zach Wilson's hands. Byron, you've got the Cowboys covering.
Yeah, I just think there's going to be so little faith in Zach Wilson that the Cowboys might just need to get to 20 points to cover this. Like, it's all well and good running the ball and running the ball and running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of think Dallas might know they're going to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. Like, I'm not saying it's easy to stop, but it's easier when there's not much threat behind you.
Yeah. I like the under on this as well, but it's 38.5, I think.
I'm just curious to see if Dak has a Josh Allen kind of performance and see, what is it like the Jets defense that good that they make these good but not top 5 quarterbacks. Well, Allen could classify as top 5, couldn't he? But they can make them look average. So I do think it's going to be a low score. I think the Cowboys are going to win, but I think I can see it by 7. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Cool. Good stuff. What we've not talked about this game at all. Commanders, 3.5-point underdogs at Denver. And this did shock me. And I had to just go and check on the website whether Joe just put this in wrong. I don't have any faith in you, Joe. I was just very shocked.
Yeah, whatever, Paul.
But I've still gone for you know what? I've gone for this 2 weeks. And I went for the Broncos to cover last week and got stung. But I think they're going to do it this week because Washington were horrendous.
I just think it's going to be a close game again. I think Chase Young's fully fit. I don't know if that actually means anything. See if he actually
he's never steps up.
Yeah, but again, I can see it being like a 21-20 either way. And I just think with Washington having them 3.5 points, I think that'll cover. I just can't see the Broncos just like absolutely destroying the Commanders. I just think it's going to be a field goal either way, just because I think both teams are poor, and I think the Washington's probably got the better defense out of like all the position of all the teams. So I'm just that's why I went Commanders.
Cool. And then our other Monday Night Football game, we've got the New Orleans Saints 3-point favorites against Carolina. Was that not 3.5?
No, still 3.
Still 3.
Now,
yeah. I kind of feel like I looked at this.
You're trying to get an extra point half here.
And that's why
he's looking for his asterisks again.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like I took the Panthers. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to get a win. I think Bryce is going to get a win pretty early on. The Saints also not great last week. I'm just going to divisional home underdog. I've gone far with the Panthers.
I'm going to keep saying it until it's not true as well, but those pass catchers need to give Bryce Young something. I know it's only been week 1, but again, I was watching the QB school break down the tape earlier, and Terrace Marshall's giving up on routes where he's the target. Adam Thielen's yelling and flailing his arms around when he's not a first read. I hate that receiving room there. It feels like he's going to pound the rock with Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders, and Bryce Young's going to look worse than he deserves to because that pass catching group is not great. I mean, his tight end's even taking his first touchdown ball and yeeting it into the stands. There's so little there. I mean, they could. Saints aren't a great team though, so a 3-point home underdog I don't hate. I won't be putting any money on the Saints, but
I think I'm going to end up with a couple of pushes here this week. Right, and then we've already talked about Cleveland at Pittsburgh. We're all on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, yeah, we've got a good mix, actually, this week. I think we've not got as many as, I think we've only got the 4 where we're unanimous, yeah?
One of them's the Bears.
Yeah. One of them's the Steelers. I think, yeah.
How we all pick the Steelers and Bears?
I know, that's when I saw it, I was like, I should be going Cleveland. That's in my head. If I think about it, I should go Cleveland. But like I said before, it just feels like Steelers are going to do it.
The charm of the home underdog.
It is, yeah.
And it is week 2.
Yeah.
We'll soon forget everything we knew last week.
Yeah, absolutely. I've broken all my rules already. Right, gents, going to wrap up because I need to nip and go speak to our guest who's going to be joining us, joining me. So that's the end of Byron and Joe for this episode. You'll be back for the review episode early next week. So yes, keep an eye out on all our social media channels, particularly Instagram and X. You'll be able to get updates of our picks and also the bets that we're placing across week 2. So, gents, thank you very much for your contributions. Over to me with special guest Scott Cobe.
Thank you.
Cool. Welcome to our week 2 guest pickers segment. You've just heard myself, Byron, and Joe talk through our week 2 picks, predictions, and best bets. It was a big episode. There's plenty in there, and we're going to finish off this episode with Scott Cobe. Scott's joining us again on Good Teams and Great Teams cover after joining us for our State of the AFC East episode a couple of months ago. It was maybe back in May. It was a little bit longer than that. Scott, welcome back to Good Teams and Great Teams cover. Thanks ever so much for coming on and being our second guest picker.
Thanks, Paul. It's great to be here. I heard Bobby G was your first picker and didn't do so well, so hopefully I can pick up the mantle for him and be a little bit better. But it's great to be here.
Bobby G promised me he was going to go 4-0 as well. He promised it. Sadly not. But his Browns won, and the Browns were his pick that won, so I'm sure he'll take some solace in that. We've talked a little bit. Me and Scott just had a chat on the Paul Redmond show over on Let's Talk Sport, Let's Talk Sports YouTube channel. So we've talked a little bit about your Patriots already, Scott. Yep. Just give us a quick further for the Good Teams and Great Teams covers, guys. Patriots are 2-point underdogs on Sunday against the Dolphins. How are you feeling? Do you feel they're going to win? Feel they're going to cover? Do you feel they're going to win the game outright?
Johnny Cruz, don't be listening to this. Yeah, well, I picked the Dolphins to win the division. In all honesty. But I think the Patriots are going to win this week because I think Bill Belichick's going to take the explosive Tyreek Hill out of the game as much as he can. And I think Mac Jones has an offensive coordinator that helps him out a lot and is basically a second set of eyes. So, I like the Patriots this week to not only cover, but possibly win the game outright. So
good. Scott, as we discussed, is hot on NFL bets already this year. He had an amazing week 1. 5-0, right? That was right.
Yeah.
5-0. Also had a great week on college. We need to get better on college. Not do good last week. But you're on form, which is the point I'm making. You're in a good run of form. So the expectation will be that it continues into our little competition. So just a reminder, we've got our Good Teams Win Great Teams cover NFL FourFold Challenge is what we're calling it. FourFold Challenge. 1 favorite, 1 underdog, 1 over, 1 under. This definitely hasn't been stolen from a very popular podcast. I promise. But it's a good competition for us. And what we've done, Scott, you wouldn't have heard because we've just recorded it. But we're going to have whoever out of myself, Joe and Byron finishes bottom. The forfeit is they're going to have to make a donation to a charity of the winner's choosing for the amount that the third place is behind. So if they finish 25, 30, 40, 50 games behind, that's how much they're going to have to put in to a charity. So we're going to do something nice with it.
That's good.
Good stuff. We try to be nice guys here.
Absolutely.
Scott, hit us with your favorite then. So who's your favorite for week 2 in the NFL?
So my favorite is the Buffalo Bills. And reason being is Josh Allen looked not so good on Monday night. And I think when Josh Allen looks not so good on Monday night against the Jets team he struggled with in his career, I think the tendency is that he bounces back with a huge performance. And I think that's what you're going to see on Sunday against the Raiders. Raiders are coming across the country, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time start. That's tough for West Coast teams to come across the country and play that early and have any success. And the Raiders are all sorts of banged up too. Garoppolo has a foot injury. Jacoby Myers is in the concussion protocol. So I think the Bills will right their ship on Sunday. And win by more than the 8.5 or 9.5.
So I was going to say, are you okay with it at 9.5 as your favorite?
9.5 is fine.
We cut it last night before it moved.
Yep.
So cool.
Yep.
9.5 Buffalo. It's a big get right game for Buffalo, I think, isn't it? With what happened, and probably couldn't have wished for. Maybe if they'd have got the Cardinals, maybe that was it. But they couldn't really wish for a better. Even though they got a good win last week, the Raiders. Probably couldn't wish for a better. That West Coast team coming over, early start. I think, the Bills might beat the hell out of. Although in our picks, stupidly, I've taken the Raiders to cover. I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking, Scott.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close to the 9.5, I think. I think it's going to be anywhere from 10 to 14. I don't think the Raiders are going to get blown out. I think they're going to hang in and the Bills are going to score a late touchdown to cover. So
I think when the number's that big this early in the season, I always get a little bit, give me the points. I'll take the points.
Cool. I do as well.
Bill's your favorite. Who's your favorite underdog this week?
I know I may regret this, but it's the Chicago Bears. They're plus 2.5. When a team has all the hype like the Bears do, and they come out flat, and Justin Fields has come out and said, I was too conservative. I got to play loose. I think the Bears are going to come out with a much, much better effort against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who beat the Vikings week 1. I understand that, but Kirk Cousins threw an interception in the red zone in the end of the first half. They turned the ball over a couple other times in advantageous positions. So I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a little bit lucky to get out of Minnesota with the win. So I think Chicago goes in there, and I think they win the game outright.
So there's one thing that worries me now about this is in our picks, all 3 of us are on the Bears, and now all 4 of us. That's never a good sign.
No, it's never a good sign. But
that is never a good sign. So if you watch us, fade us all. Go take the Bucks minus 2.5.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, Baker Mayfield has played really, really well opening week. I don't know if he could do that a second week in a row. That's the whole thing with me. So
yeah, I think there's a bit of a theme with Baker, isn't it? That he seems to start off okay, and then just kind of once you see him on tape that season, he just ends up falling off.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the Bears, it was a huge letdown last week for the Bears, wasn't it, against the Packers? It was kind of just built up so much about getting that season off to a good start, beating the Packers, getting one over Green Bay, and it just it fell flat so badly for them.
Yeah, it was, and the going into it, the thing was the Packers own the Bears. They beat them all these straight times, and sure enough, here's the momentum for the Bears to win the game, and they come out like they did. It wasn't a good sign. So we'll see how they perform, bounce back this week.
Yeah,
I think it'll be good.
Maybe being on the road isn't necessarily a bad thing for the Bears this week.
Not at all. Not at all. So
cool, good stuff. Give us your under. We'll finish with the over because we love points. But hit me with your under. What's your favorite under, or what under are you liking the most this week, Scott?
I'm gonna go right back to the Patriots game. I like the under in the Patriots game. I think Bill Belichick's defense is for real. I think that Tua will struggle against their defense, and the mixtures up of what Bill Belichick does, as we talked about in the previous show. Bill Belichick mixed a lot of stuff up against Philadelphia and confused them. And I think he's going to do it again. And I don't think Tyreek is going to go anywhere near off like he did against the Chargers this week. So I love the under in that game. I like it like a 24-17 final, somewhere in that vicinity.
Yeah, it's under 46.5. Obviously, you're in the area, or a lot closer in the area. Yeah. We were talking, we've just finished recording, we were talking about how apparently there's supposed to be some real bad weather heading that way.
Saturday, yes. Sunday, no. Sunday's going to be just fine. It's perfect. So that will not be a factor in it. Had that been a factor in it, I think you'd seen the over-under come down from 46.5 to like 41 or something like that. But it's supposed to be just fine for Sunday night. So
cool. Yeah, for some reason, we talked about a lot of weather on our episode that we recorded. Apologies if we bored anybody, but yeah, we talked a lot of weather. We won't make that a habit, but we're talking weather everywhere. Well, I say weather everywhere. It was weather in New York, I think, and where else was it horrible? In Cleveland as well, wasn't it, of course? Yeah, cool, good stuff. And then on a brighter note, give us your favorite over. Where are the points going to be this weekend, Scott?
Detroit and Seattle. It's at 47. They played last year. I believe it went into the 60s last year.
Yeah, it was a shootout. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jared Goff and Detroit's offense at home just goes off every week. So they can get to the 31 to 34 just by themselves, and I think Seattle's going to be able to score with them because Detroit was very lucky against Kansas City. All those drop passes, Kansas City could have very easily put 34 up on the board. Very easily against Detroit. So I'm looking at that game being in the 60s again. They just played in week 5 last year. It was a high-scoring game. It's going to be another high-scoring game this week. Both offenses are going to be able to go up and down the field against the other team's defense. So
yeah, I remember it was one of my favorite games from last season. I feel it's just got a fun vibe around it, this game.
Yeah.
The Seahawks, Lions. The Lions, yeah, you mentioned they were a bit lucky to come off lucky against the Chiefs.
Yep.
What did you make of, and as a point we discussed, what did you make of the performance of the Lions rookies? So we were all sat here in April going, what the hell are the Lions doing in this draft? And yet all those kind of high-picked rookies seemed to make big contributions last week.
The one thing that you have to remember about Gibbs, he only played like about 20 snaps. They were trying to work him in. So he wasn't going to get 45, 50 snaps. He was going to get what he got. He's going to get more and more as a season, early in the season. And he's explosive. He's fast. Kansas City had a hard time tackling him. And Laporta, I love Laporta. He's just that big, bruising tight end that if he catches the ball, he's got speed and he can get down the field. So Detroit did an excellent job at scouting and picking these two guys, and they're going to be the linchpins of their offense for years to come, I think. David Montgomery's a great running back, but he doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield. It's more like the Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift type of thing with Detroit, where Gibbs is playing the Swift role right now. But he's going to eat into Montgomery's workload slowly and slowly, more and more. And I think, if he gets in the open field, he's gone. Nobody's going to catch him. So.
Yeah, real impressive. And I think a couple of the rookies, Campbell at linebacker, that a couple of key plays, particularly a pass breakup, and Branch, who got the interception return that was ultimately the game winner, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Really good, really good job. So yeah, after kind of the what the hell are they doing? Yeah, some real good contributions. Scott, yeah. I know you're going to potentially talk about some of this on the other shows as they build the other shows that you're on as we build up to the week 2, especially week 2 Sunday. But what would you say is your best bet of the week if we were to get that out of you? What would you say is your best bet for the NFL week 2?
Boy, I know you're a Cowboys fan. We talked about it before. I love the Cowboys this week. I just love them. I just think with Zach Wilson in the quarterback now, I think Dallas is going to load the box to stop Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook and make Zach Wilson beat them. And I've said in other shows this week that Zach Wilson didn't really do anything until the fourth quarter, until Garrett Wilson caught that touchdown pass. So I think you're going to see the Zach Wilson that you saw last year to a degree. And I think Dallas, if they put 30 on the board, which they're very capable of with their defense and their offense, and the Jets going to be hard-pressed to even get to 20. So I like Dallas a lot this week. That would be my best bet of the week.
Nice. I think it's down to -9 now, Cowboys.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And it's at home. It's the first home game of the year. So Dallas is going to come out flying. So.
Yeah, what could have been a tricky one. I fully expect Dallas to win the game and start 2-0. What could have been a real difficult game in different circumstances might not be so much now. Bit of patience needed. I think Dallas might need a bit of time just to work out that Jets defense because we didn't really see, because of just the way the game fell against the Giants, you didn't really see any offense, really, any real offense from the Cowboys because they didn't need it.
You didn't. And Brandon Cooks is dealing with some knee soreness, but if he doesn't play, Michael Gallup can step right into that role and do just as good a job as Brandon Cooks. So Dallas has a lot of depth in that wide receiver position right now, which is great for them.
Yeah, real looking forward to that. Dallas have got a pretty good run as well. Dallas could have a real hot start in terms of the games they've got. I've seen plenty of Twitter posts running the strength of the quarterbacks they have to play.
Yeah, no doubt at all. I mean, look at Dallas has got Arizona next week. Yeah. And then they got the Patriots. So I think Dallas is in for a 3-0 start up until that New England game, which would be great for them, which would be awesome for them. So
definitely try and keep pace with Philly
That's right.
for that division, which would be an interesting one. Scott, appreciate you. Thanks ever so much for coming on Good Teams and Great Teams. It'd be great to have you back on later in the season. We'll check in with you on how the Patriots are doing and get your views. It'd be great to have you on picking some games with us, picking some more games with us as well. That'd be great.
Definitely. Anytime you need me.
Cool, good stuff. Go and check out Scott Cobe and the rest of the guys on the Let's Talk Sports show, the flagship show on the Let's Talk Sports Network. Get it right. Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays.
Correct.
Pre NFL kickoff on the Sundays, Monday, and Scotland. We're about to go live on a couple of hours time, 9:05 Eastern.
Yep.
On Thursdays. Boom, nailed it. Good stuff. Scott, thanks ever so much, and we'll catch you soon.
Paul, thank you. Sure thing.